What is up, my friend? Award-winning copywriter and copy mentor Clay Manley here, and in this video, we're going to talk about your big idea. Now, admittedly, big ideas are hard to talk about, explain, articulate, because they're a bit complex. They can be a little bit confusing, and you really need firm examples to start to bring it to life. So, in this deck or this video, I'm going to take you through the just three criteria for a great big idea. And I'm going to take you through examples, both mainstream examples and examples from my own writing. So again, you can start to see how this comes to life and you can see it kind of in action. So first things first, let's just talk about the importance of the big idea. David Ogilvy said it best. Unless your advertising contains a big idea, it will pass like a ship in the night. So think about that. Your big idea is what makes you stand out. It's what captures the audience and kind of sticks to them. I talk about the big idea being sticky. It needs to stick to them. It needs to be memorable. So if they read your writing, let's say it's a sales page where you're making an offer for yourself or your client, when they read that, the big idea should come across loud and clear, and it should be that one thing that actually sticks with them. So even if they don't buy then and there, it's on their mind, they remember it, and they buy later. That is the purpose of the big idea. And like Ogilvy said, if you don't nail it, you're not going to stand out. So let's talk about the criteria for what makes a great big idea. And admittedly, there's other criteria floating out there. AWAI and Barefoot Writer has a list of 4 criteria. I just looked at that to kind of refresh my memory, and I was shocked because number 3 on my list wasn't on there at all. So I tried to simplify this to 3. Humans learn in threes. We're hardwired to understand, digest, apply threes. So let's make it simple. Okay, let's keep it simple because it is a complex topic. So the first criteria, it's got to be unique. You can't stand out if you blend in, plain and simple. So the big idea needs to be unique. It can't be redundant, repetitive, or something recycled or repurposed that's used everywhere else. Now, the more saturated the niches that you're writing for or writing in, the more unique the big idea needs to be. So let's say you're writing in fitness, and I'll give you a fitness example later. Your big idea needs to be pretty unique, or else you're not going to stand out from anybody. Number 2, if it's got to be unique, it's also got to be enticing. It's got to capture their attention. It's got to speak to like the right benefit. Okay, if it can't capture their attention and it's not unique, then why would they care? And then last but not least, this is the one that I'm saying stands out the most. To me, this is the most important one, and it's kind of it's a no-brainer. It's a non-negotiable. It needs to be easy to understand and digest. Okay, so Bruce Lee said that the key to brilliance is simplicity. Einstein always talked about don't make the simple complex. Or kind of the magic thing we do as copywriters is simplify the complex, which means our big idea, which is probably representing an offer, a complex offer to an audience or complex idea to an audience, needs to be simple. Okay, so it needs to be easy to understand and digest for both you as the copywriter so you can easily articulate it, and it needs to be easy to understand and digest for the audience. Makes sense? Both ends. It has to be simple. So I would challenge you to be able to explain the big idea in just one sentence before you start writing about it or around it. If you can do that, if you can explain the big idea to your mom, your friend, your cat, your dog, Frankie, Weston, my son, in one sentence, then you're golden. So what makes a great big idea? These are your 3 criteria. Unique, enticing, and then that key one, easy to understand and digest both for you and the audience. Okay, now let's take a look at a few examples because, again, this is a little theoretical and abstract. I want you to leave with real-life examples so you know how to bring your big idea to life or to light, like the light bulb at the beginning of the page. So first one's a mainstream example, P90X. Okay, so you remember P90X, the at-home workout program? So this is kind of the website for P90X. Their big idea is not get in the best shape of your life at home. Anybody can say that. That's not unique. It's a little bit enticing, but it's not unique. Under that, their subheadline here, lose up to 9 pounds in your first 14 days. Great social proof, important to have, still not your big idea. Spectacular results, nope, not unique. Get it right the first time, nope, not unique. Nowadays, they have it buried right here. Under advanced science, it says, with muscle confusion, you don't hit plateaus, you blast through them. So if you were to look back at the original P90X marketing with Tony Horton, where he was kind of introduced to the world in this truly revolutionary and breakthrough program, like blew up. I mean, P90X in my time was worth millions. It was the first one that did that. All they did was they took the science behind muscle confusion and they branded it muscle confusion. They simplified the science. The science did not call it this, but the science basically said if you did not continue to mix up your workout routine, you will stop getting results. So P90X said, great, how can we explain that simply? Let's call it muscle confusion and let's market this new program around that. No two workouts are the same. No two exercises are the same. You're constantly confusing your muscles and therefore you're busting through plateaus to get better results. So the big idea, plain and simple, was that muscle confusion was better than the traditional way. It was all about muscle confusion, and that alone put P90X on the map. Nobody cared about the name. Nobody cared that it was 90 minutes, which, by the way, is a long time to work out a day. What they cared about was it introduced this concept of muscle confusion. And to me, this doesn't matter for the writing, but to me, the crazy part is that had been around forever. Nobody had simplified it like that and built a program around that big idea. So it was unique, it was enticing, and it was easy to digest and apply. Muscle confusion is something you can get right away. Okay, next example. This is a niche-specific one. So if you go and look at TED Talks videos, by the way, great place to find great copy, inspiration, and flow. But Daniel Amen, who's a psychiatrist, has a great TED Talk. You can pull it up. I'll show you what he looks like. I'll show you what he looks like later. But this is it. It's called The Most Important Lesson from 83,000 Brain Scans by Daniel Amen. This is an awesome TED Talk. Honestly, you got to check it out. You'll be amazed. It's like 14 minutes long. But here's the deal. He actually says the big idea. He states it about 10 minutes through. And it's not the brain scans, the 83,000 brain scans or whatever's in the name. It is this. His words, not mine. You can literally change people's brains, and when you do, you change their lives. Now, I'm cheating a little bit by putting the M dash here to break it into one sentence when it was probably two, or to combine it into one. But that was his big idea. You can literally change people's brains, and when you do, you change their lives. His sub-ideas are the things he used to illustrate that. He talked about his nephew, which was a killer story, no pun intended. He talked about his NFL players and athletes, looking at their brain scans and seeing how you can change and kind of save them or rescue them, if you will. He talked about even criminals. Found out criminals in their brain scans, their brain chemistry had changed. And instead of giving them pills and treating them as almost like a cluster of symptoms instead of a person, when you went beyond pills and beyond the cluster of symptoms and treated them as a person by reviewing their brain, that's when things changed. Now, the science is amazing. I have no agenda or anything like that. I just think it's really exciting, despite the terrible pun earlier. And my point is this. His big idea was not the brain scans. It was that you can literally change people's brains, and when you do, you change their lives. And then he used example and social proof to bring that to life, exactly as you would. Okay, and the last one, this is from my work, not the favorite thing I've ever written, but Todd Durkin, who's a famous former fitness guy who's on Netflix, used to train Drew Brees and people like that, now kind of a motivational speaker, speaks around the world. Todd Durkin has a program, online program called God-Sized Dreams Program. I'm not encouraging you to register, don't worry. And his big idea is not what you see here. It's not discovering your God-sized dream, pursuing your God-sized dream, or fulfilling your God-sized dream. It's also not doing it in 90 days. The big idea gets introduced a little bit later in the sales letter right here. Nothing great is accomplished alone. That's his big idea. He uses the Dalai Lama, Martin Luther King, and even Oprah, CEO of Google, all kinds of people to illustrate this. But that's the big idea. And he reinforces it with things like, that's why I always say the bigger your dream, the more important your team. Or even here, he talks through taking them down the path. And ultimately, throughout this, he continues to seed the fact that nothing great is accomplished alone. And the reason the offer sells is because he teaches them, or the audience, if that's the big idea, that he and his team are the people to help you accomplish great things or fulfill your God-sized dream. So you see it come to life here too. So those are three examples. P90X with muscle confusion, the mainstream version where they simplified some advanced science and kind of stuck their claim on it. Then you look at Daniel Amen's TED Talk, and we're talking about the brain, and they actually can change the brain. And then Todd Durkin, nothing great is accomplished alone. So there's your examples one more time. And reminder, the criteria. This is what it all comes down to. So as you're coming up with big ideas, and you may have many, and you have to start thinking, well, what's the big idea? And then what are the sub-ideas that lather up to it? Too many ideas pretending to be big ideas is too complicated to understand. So one clear big idea, you can have sub-ideas that support it. Okay, it's kind of like how we say every story should have a point and every point should have a story. But what makes a great big idea, the three things: it's unique, it's enticing, and it's easy to understand and digest. All three of those big ideas I shared with you, very easy to understand and digest, which meant they're easy to articulate as a writer or a speaker, and they're easy for the audience to grasp and hold on to, which is what we want them to do. We want to grasp and hold on to. So if you want more copywriting tips, tricks, secrets, strategies, all that kind of stuff, click below. As I've mentioned before, I run my Success Express copywriting mentorship for copywriters to help copywriters like you go from certified or educated to skilled, sought after, and successful. And of course, I help seven-figure businesses grow. All my links are below. I encourage you to get my free client guide if you're a copywriter, and subscribe, and we'll talk soon. Thanks.